Finding small tasks hard is not weakness, and dreading the simple things, the basic everyday stuff, isn't laziness. And when people tell you you should be coping better, it just makes everything worse. I think a lot of the reason that we struggle with the small things isn't because we can't be bothered, because we're lazy, whatever. I think it's because we're exhausted. For me, there are two big reasons why the small tasks make us feel tired. First of all, is that they stack, right? That's the biggest, easiest one. Is that, like, you think about being at home or being at work, if you're doing lots of small tasks back to back to back without having a rest or a pause in between, what you're doing is, instead of just doing lots of little things, yes, you are doing that, but the time you're taking to do all of that is one big block of time. I mean, say for instance, you work in an office and you've got to send 100 emails in the morning. Each email might take you a couple of minutes, but the time you're taking to do all of that is a lot of time if you don't get a break in between. The same if you're at home, right? If you, like, if you stay at home, you've got kids, by the time you've done the dishes, hoovered, fed the kids, tidied up, whatever it might be, that's a lot of time that's taken up, again, without a rest. And when you don't get a rest, when these things stack, it leads on to something that I've noticed a lot of people do, which is that they judge themselves on their outputs. And when I say that, what I mean is that if you have a list of jobs to do in a day, right, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's both, whatever it might be, and you don't get all of that done, the day doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like you've done enough on that day, right? And when I say judge ourselves on outputs, it's not just did we get everything done in the day we wanted to do, it's did we do it as the right version of ourselves as well. Like, one of the best examples of this is, like, for me personally as a parent, is staying calm with my kids. Obviously, I try every day to stay calm with my kids. It doesn't always work. In fact, more often than not, I get it wrong at least once, right? But the fact of the matter is, when I do get it wrong, I judge myself on the time that I don't do it right, not on the times I did, because that's expected. That's how it should happen. What I judge myself on is the time where it doesn't happen like that. And I think the same rings true for a lot of us. If we've got a whole day of work to do, we've got some housework to do when we get home, maybe the kids need picking up early or whatever it might be. If that's the case and we don't get it all done properly, then we feel bad because we haven't done everything we were supposed to do. Like, I'm not saying we get massively upset, but there is an element of, like, just didn't get it all done, and we look at the fine margins of not so much failure, but just area that we didn't do well enough in. And I think that's a really harsh way of looking at it. And the worst of it is, as well, is it's not an honest way of looking at it. You might think, well, actually, no, it is honest that I didn't get it done. But yeah, okay, hear me out. If you're looking at something honestly, you look at the whole picture. If you're talking about, like, we go really off tangent a minute. If you're looking at a crime that got committed, they don't just look at all of the little things. They look at the whole picture so they can build the full story. If you're only looking at the tiny little moments that didn't quite do enough, or where you weren't the person you want to be, the task you didn't get done, you're not looking at the full story. So you're not looking at yourself honestly on the day you've had. You're looking at the bits that you didn't do well enough in, that you have ammunition to judge yourself on, makes you more overwhelmed, makes the next day harder, makes the little things harder again, and it's a repeating cycle. And the worst of it is, a lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. I didn't realize I was doing it for a long, long time. It actually took me seeing it in somebody else to realize that I do it myself. Now, one of, if not the main reason we do this is because we care. A lot of people out there, when you don't get everything done the day you wanted to do, when you have had a difficult day, stuff hasn't gone right, or you haven't stayed calm when you wanted to, whatever it might be, if you care, it bothers you. If you don't care, you're not bothered. You don't give it a second thought. It doesn't enter your mind at all. But if you care, it eats away at you. And because it eats away at you, it's not like you can sit down and have a discussion with someone about that. Like, could you imagine that in the evening, sitting there with your partner or your parent or whatever it might be? You think, well, how was your day? Oh, it was all right, but there was just one thing I wanted to get done earlier, and I did it, but like I didn't do it well enough, and it's just really got me down, you know. It sounds not it doesn't sound silly to say it out loud, but it sounds very different hearing it out loud. But when we internalize that, when we don't say it, it eats away at us. And because it eats away at us, and because the day feels like a failure in one form or another, it makes the next day harder because we're not just having to do everything we need to do the next day, we're having to make up for yesterday. And that's where this can snowball really, really quickly. One way I would encourage you think about this, like I say, is judging it honestly. Judge yourself honestly. If you want to call the day a failure, then make sure you take into account all the stuff you got right. Because a lot of people I know, and a lot of people out there who I think have this problem, have this experience, is that they don't judge themselves honestly. They overlook the good stuff. And I've heard this sentence so many times with the people I've talked to in the groups I've been parts of or spoken to, you know, and just even like people that I see, you know, fleetingly have met once or twice in the street, whatever it might be. When you say about something you've done wrong, they beat themselves up for it. When there's something they've done well, here's what they say: I should be doing that anyway. How are you meant to compete with that? The stuff that you've done right is just like, oh, well, that's how it should be. That's not an honest judgment. It's not a fair judgment. And it's really easy to get lost in this because until you see it for what it is, you can't do anything about it. You can't change what you refuse to name. And until you name it out loud, you can't do anything about it. The loop will carry on repeating itself. So, my advice, like I say, is judge honestly, right? If you have had a day where you've got most of what you wanted to do done, again, most of, right, the majority of, in no uncertain terms, that means more of what you did right than you did wrong. That's the honest judgment here. If you had 10 things to do and you got 8 of them done, you got the majority of it done. Like, give yourself a pat on the back, for goodness sake. Like, it's not, I'm not saying, you know, just accept less. What I'm saying is punish yourself less, beat yourself up less, be more honest about the day you're having. The other way that I said that things can be difficult is if we don't get enough rest, we don't get enough time to ourselves. And I think there's a really big misconception around what rest and time to ourselves looks like, right? I've said about this a lot in recent videos, but I'm going to bring it up again now. There are 1,440 minutes in every single day of our lives. Every day of your life, every day of my life, every day of everybody's life. There are 1,440 minutes every single day. And I love that because that's a wonderful stat to put perspective on things. If you look at it and you're like, well, okay, like say like working parent, yeah, you're dropping your kids off to school in the morning, you go and work while they're at school, you come back, pick them up, get them home, dinner, homework, showers, bedtime, you know, whatever it might be. Then you got maybe there's like a play date or they've got like a school parents' evening, whatever it is, yeah, and your day's just a complete. Oh, I've been there, right, and it just flies past. And yet at the end of it, you're just like, oh, I'm so tired. But it doesn't have to be like that. Because the problem is, a lot of people think rest, because they're told this, right? You and I are all told these things. Well, rest needs to be an hour out of your day, or it needs to be journaling or meditation or breathing exercises or yoga. No, 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 no. That's not wrong, but it's not the full story. Rest doesn't need to be hours. It can literally be 5 minutes. Now, before you go away thinking, bloke's talking nonsense, hear me out. Because taking 5 minutes at a time is a bit like building a house one brick at a time. No one comes along with a fully complete wall when you're building a house and just drops it into place and that's your wall done. It's one brick at a time. If you take 5 minute resets, yeah, let's take the working parent again, right? If you're a working parent, you work full time, you know, you get up in the morning, you get the kids ready, you get yourself ready for work, drop the kids off, go to work. There's a couple of resets there in that time already, right? Number one, if you're up in the morning before your kids, which most parents I know are, right? Before you start the day, just take 5 minutes. Yeah, make yourself a cup of tea, coffee, juice, water, whatever it is. Maybe put a song or two on, right? Listen to a bit of a podcast or an audiobook for 5 minutes. Watch a bit of something on YouTube or BBC iPlayer, put some telly on for just 5-10 minutes, right? If that's not available to you, another reset you can have is once you drop the kids to school or on your way to work. Again, music, audiobooks, podcasts. It's your time. That whole drive to work or to pick the kids up from school is your time. And it's just there. And we fill it with like, oh my God, what have I got to do when I get back? I've got to do this. Oh, work slammed there. I've got all these meetings and that I've got to go to. No, stop right there. Take the time for you because it's there, right? In those moments where you're making a hot drink, uh, on the way to pick the kids up, or on the way to work, or on the way, back from dropping the kids off, or on the way back from work. There's time like that in everyone's day, and that's your time for yourself. Even with me, right? Like my 2-year-old doesn't go to preschool yet. We have where we live locally. We're really unlucky. There's no real spaces about. She's not starting until September. At the time of recording, it's still June. But there's time in the day where I can have that time to myself. She's here all day, right? I film when she naps. That's my filming time. That's all the filming time as well, by the way, right? And I find time in the day when she's awake that I can take for myself. When you're like that, if you do have kids at home all the time, or like you're a full-time carer or whatever it might be, there are little moments that you can take. And I call these sharing moments, right? Sharing moments differ slightly because you are not having it entirely for yourself, not at the start, right? But a sharing moment is as simple as, say you got kids at home full time, you're doing the dishes in the kitchen. Put your phone up on the window counter or wherever it might be, out of the way, and put on an episode of something on the BBC iPlayer, a bit of a YouTube video, some music, again, a podcast. What all you're doing in that moment is in bringing something into the room with you that you like to make what you're doing more manageable, more bearable, okay? Because otherwise, it's just you and the responsibility and the pressure all on your own. And when you're under that all the time, the small things do feel like hard work because it's not that one task in isolation. It's all the responsibility and all of the pressure all of the time. No wonder everybody's knackered if you're living like that. It's just finding ways to break up the day. And when I say about the brick at a time to build a house, the analogy for the 5 minutes, if you take 5 minute resets, right? Yes, I know you're not taking an hour. Yes, I know you don't get to have your weekend away. I don't get a weekend away. I don't get an hour. The time where I get actual blocks of time like now, I spend it working because I don't have any other time to do it in. But if you take enough 5 minute resets, that time builds up. 5 minute resets, yeah. If you take 6 of those, that's half an hour. Yeah. And they're not hard to come by. Once you've seen them and you know where they are, they're really easy. And they act as like checkpoints throughout the day. Right. So for me, right, when I was working before now, I was working at Ford Motor Company, right? And my time to myself was when the kids were in bed and I was home from work and everything was done. And not before then did I stop at all, right? Focusing on the next task, mentally preparing myself for the next thing, trying to be all things to all people all day long. And I would get to like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'd just be dreaming of that time at the end of the day that was mine. Right? And me and my partner would sit down and play some video games or play some cards or watch some telly. And I would have to wait all that time to the end of the day for any time for myself. because I wasn't taking these resets. And that makes it really hard. Some days it makes it impossible because you're talking hours and hours and hours of waiting for what, maybe an hour and a half before you inevitably go to bed, and then the day starts again. It's not exactly a fair trade, is it? But when you have these little resets built into your day, and the best of it is the resets can be built into your day. They're not time you have to steal. It's time that already exists. When you start taking these resets and you're feeling the benefit of them, your brain incentivizes itself and it looks actively for more of these resets. And you don't have to derail your life. Like, take an hour out of your day, yeah, at any time in the day, whether it's while your responsibilities are ongoing, after they finish, like I say, that time in the evening, right? If you can you imagine, just for a minute, yeah, you've either been with your kids all day, been at work all day, whatever it is, and you've had a bad day, been a really stressful day. This journaling, breathing exercises advice, you get to the end of all of that and then go, okay, time to relax by doing another task. Doesn't sound like relaxing to me. If you want a free guide to help you with some resets, there's a link in the top of the description. It literally is an email sign up sheet. The PDF comes out to you. That's not me saying, I want your email address so I can send you loads of spam rubbish. I'll only ever send you out stuff if it's free value, like this PDF, right? If it's stuff like that or something I find genuinely helps me, you'll be the first to hear about it. But once you've got that email address, the beauty of it is you can contact me, right, directly and say, look, I've looked through the PDF. The reset idea looks lovely, but maybe there's only a couple on there that appeal to you. Maybe there's a couple on there that you actually can take. What advice do you have? Are there any more you could think of? Whatever, and work through it. Go for it. And do you know what it costs you as well? Nothing. Because you shouldn't have to pay somebody to show you a better way or to explain a better way or to give you the help for something as basic. It's practically a human right. Rest, right? And trying to manage the small things. If you have these rests in between and it breaks everything up, the small things become small again. Because it's one or two small things at a time. It's not a list of 18 different small things that takes you 4.5 hours and you don't get to stop. It's like 15, 20 minutes reset. Another half an hour, another reset. Another hour, another reset. And it breaks up that time. And the small things start to feel smaller again. I know because I'm living proof. And I'm not saying that just because it works for me, it'll work for everybody. You're not going to hear me say, and this is how you stay calm. You're not going to hear me say, I know better than you. All you're going to hear me say is, this is my experience. This is what I found. And if you want it for free, it's there. Whatever you go away thinking, I hope you're feeling better than you did when you came into this video. Because if you've done that, then this video has done its job. And like I say, if you want the free PDF, it is linked below. But until the next one, my name is Daniel Mottram, and I can't wait to catch up with you in the next video.